Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Blue Maxima and I'm here checking out Under Night in Birth EXE latest. I hate how it goes to bloody demos. That just seems to happen all the time with me in these bloody games. Let's just get into the main menu before it does that again. So, I'm using a new recording method, so if this comes out a little bit wonky, let me know in the comments. I'll try and make sure that it looks fine on my end before I upload it, but you know, that's just something that I just can't see sometimes if it's going to go wrong before it actually goes up. So, this is a fighting game from French Bread, of all people. I never thought I'd see bloody Under Night in Birth on the Vita. This is a very... well, it's not a very niche fighting game series, but it's certainly not as well known as your BlazBlues and your Guilty Gears, I can tell you that much. So seeing it here is actually a really nice surprise because, well, I've played it and I think it's pretty good. Spoiler alert. So, let's go have a look around before we go jumping into the actual fighting. I'm just going to tell you right away that I haven't had the opportunity to check out the online play, but it's Arc System Works published game, and Arc System Works published games usually have pretty damn good net play, so it's probably not going to be a problem. So anyway, system settings, pretty basic set of stuff really, you can just have a look at that for yourself. Game settings, you got your difficulty, your rounds, your round length, and your network mode and your versus mode battle menu, which is a nice thing to have. You got your sound settings here, not that much to see. And here's your controller settings, you can rebind everything to whatever you think is necessary. The game's not actually that difficult about button inputs most of the time. I'd recommend having ABC and ABCD bound to their own buttons as I've done here. But other than that, you probably won't have that much of a problem. So, yeah, the general set of modes in this game is very simple to understand. You've got an arcade mode, which is the main mode they'll expect you to go through. It's got all your story, and it's got, well, not all of the characters I've found. It's missing a few, mainly because the game has that sort of thing where it does actually try to tell a story in its arcade mode, and some of the characters in this game just do not fit. You've got the Chronicles, which is actually a pure visual novel mode. We'll come back to that first. Your typical versus mode, your network and your ad hoc modes, which is actually pretty neat. Score attack, time attack, and survival, which are all exactly what they sound like. You got your training mode, which is a pretty basic mode as well. Your tutorial, which is actually pretty nice. We'll actually come back to that before we go to the Chronicles mode. Your missions, which is literally just combos. There's nothing particularly over the top in there. Your customization, which we'll come back to before we go to anything else. Replays, which I haven't actually saved any, so I can't really show you anything, which is a little bit unfortunate. I keep forgetting to save it. The gallery, and of course your options menu. So, if we go into the gallery, there's not that much to see here. We might as well get it out of the way. You've got different movies. You got concept art, illustrations, and even ending illustrations. Like there's one here which is actually pretty cute. This looks incredibly childish, which it really isn't in comparison to what this game's themes actually are. But I mean, look at it hanging from the tree there. That's adorable. You can also come and buy illustrations, which I will do because I've got about 10,000 points. I've never been really that impressed with these sorts of illustrations just because they seem to be relatively low effort for how much they actually charge for them. But oh well. You earn your IP, which is your currency, via just playing the game. It doesn't matter what mode you play. When you come back to the main menu, you'll earn currency. You can also use it to come here and actually buy slightly more relevant things. Icons for your panel. You can also buy different panels. So, yeah, well, they call them plates, but you get the general idea. You can come here to buy them. They cost money, and as you can see, I've got a fair amount of money. You can also buy titles. Now, titles are actually pretty interesting in this game, because what they do is they make it so that you can put in any combination of words and letters that you like up to the limit, which isn't very much. So if we just pop back out, we can see the title that I already had set there, which is Wonderful Bondage. Yeah, you can pick pretty much any combination of words and letters that you like, which is actually kind of neat. And you can even do it like letter by letter, so you can even, well, mostly letter by letter. So yeah, so if I wanted to be, say, Jaunty Jellyfish. Jaunty Jellyfish Jellyfish. Yep, there we go. So that's actually kind of a neat system. I just wish it was a little bit easier to use. It's kind of annoying to put all your stuff in there, but not the worst thing in the world. You can come into your color customization and you can buy different colors. You've got a bunch of ones unlocked by default, but they're not particularly interesting. All the interesting ones come in the unlockables, and there's a couple that I really like. Like, for example, if I just back out here and go back to Eltnum, who isn't actually a character in Under Night, but in Multi-Blood, you've got her 10 default colors up here, but my personal favorite one is down here. Vivid Navy Blue. That is... Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is Super Null Vermilion from BlazBlue right there. There's probably a bunch of other references to other fighting games in here as well, because this character's entire shtick is basically fourth wall breaks and references to other fighting games. But yeah, you've got 20 different characters and you can get a ton of alternate colors for all of them. It doesn't cost that much. And the final thing you can go by is the character that you've got in the menu by default. If you put it on random, you will get a different character every time. You can also come down here and buy just one particular character to have in the menus, which is a nice touch, because if you were playing BlazBlue on the Vita, you'd have to pay for that shit. So I can kind of appreciate that it's here, free to unlock. I've got Nana Say, because she's cute. So let's go and have a look at some of these outside modes before we actually go and hop into some fighting. I've probably left a timestamp or something if you want to skip straight to that back in the beginning of the video. So we'll go and have a look at the tutorial first. We don't need to look at the mission because it's literally just combos. That's all it is. You've got a bunch of different combos sorted by difficulty level, and you've also got tutorials sorted by difficulty level, and this I like. So if you go to display all, you can see that there is an absolutely ridiculous amount of tutorials, even sorted by difficulty. So you can filter your difficulty by beginner, then go through them, then filter it up to novice, I should say. Then you filter it up to beginner, then you filter it up to intermediate, then expert. And you can just go through like that, because the game recognizes what difficulty you've got it filtered to, so you can go through all the really easy tutorials first. And this will tell you literally everything you need to know to play the game, which is absolutely fantastic. As you can see, I haven't actually gone through all of them, because after a little bit I just got completely bored with it, so I just went and started fighting. But they do actually recommend, like, when you finish the first set of novice tutorials, they say, hey, you can go actually fight in this game now, but the novice tutorials are literally, how do you move, how do you attack, and how do you win? So, whatever, right? But I have played enough of the tutorials to have a rough idea of what I'm doing, so that'll be nice. Training mode is exactly as you would expect, so we won't need to worry about that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to go play the Chronicles mode, because the Chronicles mode is actually something that is a little bit disappointing to me. I mean, it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, and I came in with different expectations, considering this is a fighting game. But with that said, this disappointed me. So, Chronicles is a visual novel mode. The general idea is that you've got to go through the prologue first, chapter 00, and then it'll unlock a bunch of extra chapters for you. At which point you can go through them and you'll unlock even more. And the game does actually kind of have a story going on. It flows through. Like, for example, I played through Chaos's chapters here. I say play, but honestly I skipped it because you'll see why in a minute. But I played through all of him, and then it unlocked Gordeau's chapters, because you see Gordeau at the very end of Chaos's chapters. These are all prologues as well, by the way. This is entirely a prologue to the main story, which happens in the arcade mode. So, I'm gonna just play Gordeau's mode here. I could probably pick a more in-depth section to pick, but this actually has like 4 different voice actors, which is actually kind of rare in the ones that I've gone through and actually made the effort to read. There are a couple of extra options here. You can change the message display speed, and you can also turn on auto display, which is basically just auto mode. You do also have the ability to skip by pressing the R button, which I will be taking advantage of pretty soon, because the game's Chronicles chapters are super long. There is a ton of text in them. Some of it's voice acted, some of it isn't. It's a little bit odd which it decides to act and which it doesn't. But yeah, there is a lot of voice acting, a lot of reading, And the game also has a real problem with actually giving you an ending, in the sense that it'll end, like, say, let me use an example. One of the first things I actually played was, it was going along just fine at a decent pace, and then it was starting to feel like it was wrapping up, and then there was a really slow fade to black, and I'm like, oh, I'm done, I can put this down now. Fade in, it continues. That happens a lot. I need to emphasize just how much this happened. I only played like 4 or 5 chapters of this mode because this is first impressions, not an overall review, and getting through all of this would take me literally ages. So, it's just so weird how it likes to just come to an end, because 3 out of the 4 things that I played would act like they were ending, but then just continue after the screen fades back in. It was literally retarded. I'm kind of amazed just how often it happens. It probably doesn't happen as much when you get into the later chapters, and you have to play through like chapter 1 before it lets you go through 2, 3, and 4, which is a little bit odd. I'm guessing so it was they didn't have to add massive amounts of save files and stuff into the game, but yeah, it's just a little odd how it makes you play through single chapters, but these single chapters can be something between 20 and 30 minutes long. It's a little odd, I have to say, but the actual writing's okay, the voice acting is fine. I haven't seen anything particularly over the top or particularly grand about it, but the voice actors fit the characters and it works fine as a thing, so we'll just let it continue on, I suppose. The general presentation is alright as well, mainly these still frames of art. It's not going to look as good when we actually get into the fighting, but it still has this weird, slightly blocky look about it, especially on the Vita screen. But at the same time, it doesn't look that bad once it actually starts moving. And these still images here are high quality enough that I don't really care. But you'll see what I mean when we actually get into the fighting. For now, I'm just going to let this run for a little bit because, you know, it's a cutscene and all that. Might also give you a little bit of an idea of the game's writing style and the just general quality of the story cutscenes. Also of note is that there's actually been a few weird typos here and there. They pop up a lot. I'm not entirely sure why. I don't think this cutscene has any, but the game does tend to have a few here and there, just as a warning. So yeah, I'm gonna let this run for a little bit, and I will return in a few minutes.
真面目な勤労青年に対するひどい仕打ちだ。この話にはもう少し続きがあるんだが、この辺のことは長くなるんでもうやめておこう。俺も能力者であるということは、この話を続けると逃げるのに失敗して虚無に噛まれる場面になる。つまりここから先は情けなくて恥ずかしい話ばかりになるんでね。そっとしておいてほしいんだよ。
どうしたんだいゴルド。そんなに大きなため息なんかついて。ああ、ひょっとして営業の邪魔かい？それなら少し席を外すが。大丈夫。君も店も寂しいだろうし、すぐに戻ってくるよ。
なーにゴルド、そんなじっと見つめちゃって。さては私に惚れ直したんでしょう。ああ、罪なもんね。愛を一手に集めちゃう私の存在って。
誰かこいつら何とかしてくれっての。最初に会った時から面白いやつだって予感がしてたが、ほんとその通りになっちまったな。抜け目ない女というかな。よく言えば愛嬌ある。悪く言えばずうずうしい。 黙っていれば多少派手な美人なんだろうが。こいつの奥の手である獣、その正体を知っている人間は俺とヒルダくらいのものか。隠し玉に持っておきたいのも分かりはするんだが、周りの連中を恐怖に陥れ、俺たちの名を高めている。それに最も貢献してるのは間違いなくこいつだ。というか、こいつ一人でいいだろう、もう。最初はうちの店名を使おうって言われたんだが、それだけはやめてくれってな。商売上がったりだ。感受性の高いお嬢さんの考えることはわからんね。
ゴルド、今度はなんて温かい眼差しで僕らを見ているんだ。まるで自分の子供を見守る親のような視線だったけど。
ああ、わかるか？少々昔のことを思い出しててな。
昔？僕らのことを見ながら微笑むような、そんな思い出して楽しいことなんて何かあったっけね。ヒルダはともかく僕に関してはないように思っているけれど。
お前さんが単身で敵組織に乗り込む話とか、執行官と切り合う話とか、今考えると楽しいだろう。
ちょっとゴールド、何か冷たい飲み物ちょうだい。
はいはい。お前さん置いてある場所知ってんだろう。それくらい自分で勝手に飲めよ。
へえ、せっかくお店に来てるのよ。自分の言うこと聞く手足みたいに従う男についでほしい。
ヒルダのやつなんざ電車のおもちゃが走るレール、あれをカウンターいっぱいに広げてたこともあったからな。
今度は何？うなり始めちゃって。笑ったりうなったり忙しいのね。
Alright, I think that's enough of that. Now, let me just give you a quick idea of just how bloody long these cutscenes are. I'm going to press the R button. Remember, this is just one chapter and there's dozens. Admittedly, as I said, I wasn't expecting to get a visual novel from a fighting game, which I'm not particularly offended by or anything like that, but at the same time, yeah, the one thing that would really help this is like a fight or two. There's no fights. As far as I can tell, there is absolutely no fights whatsoever. In this mode, at the very least. So, yeah. there's your warning. It's not bad. The writing is definitely not on like Utawa Ramono level, but it does the job. I can't find anything particularly wrong with it, just nothing particularly right with it either. So we'll go back to the main menu and actually go and fight people in this fighting game 20 minutes after we bloody started. So I don't really see the need to go and play any of these other modes just yet. Maybe I will just because of the... Maybe I will just because of the fact that some characters won't actually show up in arcade mode proper. But we'll go play arcade mode as... that's actually a good question. Who am I going to play the first time around? I guess I'll be Eltnum. Why not? Got Eltnum selected already, might as well give her a shot. So... this is generally how it works. There are story scenes that happen every few rounds, and there is actually a fair bit of story going on here. It definitely doesn't feel like there's something that I'm missing by not... there's something I'm missing going on at exactly the same time. Sure, there's the prologue stuff, but yeah, I'm just going through the text as relatively quickly as possible. But yeah, as you can see, she does nothing but make references to her own game, but we'll just skip the rest of that so we can actually go and fight. Now, I'm going to warn you now, I have the game on the default arcade difficulty, and the default arcade difficulty makes the first two opponents you fight brain dead. So if you want to see slightly more interesting fights, I would suggest fast forwarding about 5 minutes, but considering that the game's AI is actually pretty brain dead, it might actually make it easier for me to explain the game's mechanics. So you've got all your basic fighting game stuff back, forward, guard, jump, and a couple of other things. But let's get on to describing what makes this game unique. So you've got your EXS meter, which is your energy meter, right? Oh, you've got 4 attack buttons, by the way. Light, medium, heavy, and special, which is square, triangle, circle, and X on the default control scheme. And you can combine these buttons into combos pretty easily. They call it the... they have a special name for it, I just don't remember it. You can also do a pretty high damage combo just by hammering the square button, which is actually pretty nice, because it means that if you're completely new to a character and you just need a high damage combo, you can just mash square, which is pretty cool. So there are a couple of other neat things you can do, like there's a command dash on square plus triangle and a direction. You can press forward and X, which will do what they call an assault, which is basically a free air attack, which is nice. The main system that this game's got going for it, though, is its GRD Vorpal system. Now, the GRD Vorpal system, if it wasn't around, this game would be fairly balanced, in the sense that you would have a pretty equal focus on attack and defense. However, this game actually does something really interesting with its aggression system. So, down there in the middle, you'll see something called the GRD circle going on there. And the more that you advance on the enemy, the more the meter will fill up on your side. You can also scan and charge by holding the D button like I've done there. And when that little circle fills up, which fills up on a time limit, you will go into Vorpal mode. The person who has the most meter will go into Vorpal mode, I should say, sorry. And Vorpal mode actually gives you more damage. However, if you double tap the X button while you're in Vorpal mode, the meter on your side will be completely drained and it will be used to fill up your EXS meter. Your EXS meter is mainly used for doing EX attacks. So, you know, EX attacks are actually pretty weird in this game. I'll explain it once I can actually do them. But yeah, it's used to do EX attacks. However, you can also fill it up to 200 to do what's basically a killing move. You actually saw it at the end of that second fight there, I should say, sorry. But yeah, you saw it at the end of that second fight. It's pretty easy to understand. You just, for pretty much every character, it's actually a half circle down, back to forward, followed by the D button. Most of the moves in this game are actually pretty easy to understand, because I don't think there's a move in this game that differs from any one of the following. Quarter circle forward, attack button, quarter circle back, attack button, down, right, down, attack button. So it's a lot like Dragon Ball FighterZ, which just came out if you've been playing that. where all the moves are really easy to understand, and everyone's infinite worth is on their... Everyone's infinite worth, which is their super kill attack, is on the down, back, then half circle forward, D button. So every character in this game is easy to get a hang of once you know that. The only thing that differs between the characters is their unique moves. So for example, if I just pause and hit the command list real quick, you can see here are our special attacks, which are of course unique to us, and they pretty much every special attack move set will look like that. Then you can come down here, and you can also see Infinite Worth EXS, we'll get to that. Your Force function, which is also something every character has, which uses EXS meter. And here's all your unique attacks. Very easy to understand stuff going on here, and some increased moves, which will get more powerful depending on whether you hold down the button. So for example, there you go. There is also a couple of other things you can do while you are in Vorpal. So if I charge up so that I'm the one in the... Oh. Whoops. I didn't realize time was ticking down that fast. Alright. But yeah, if you charge up, and if you're in Vorpal, you can also... Hang on, I'll just get my Vorpal up so that I'm the one in the lead when it actually happens. You also increase your Vorpal by moving forward, landing attacks, and simply just being aggressive. You can also use it as an input cancel by double tapping the X button to drain your meter and go in, put it into your XS, so you can use that to make some really long combos. But you can also hit the R button, by default for me, which will go into Veil Off mode, and that'll make you even stronger, and it'll also make EXS moves free to use. So it's actually a really interesting dilemma, because you're even stronger and you can use your EXS moves almost freely when you're in that mode, which is great because it means that you can get a good combo going and just absolutely wipe the floor with whoever it is you're working with. There is one thing I feel the need to point out though, and it's something that is one of my... it's funny seeing Hilda, because Hilda is actually the final boss in these games, as far as I'm aware anyway. And seeing her so early is actually kind of funny, but anyway. Yeah, the evilest of all evil in this story and the mastermind behind all these events. We kick her ass in stage 3. Yeah, I'm just gonna skip this. You get the general idea. It's got voice acting, it's nice enough. We gotta do some fighting, damn it. But yeah, what I was saying was, a lot of fighting games, especially ones by people like, say, Arc System Works, for example, have this really annoying tendency to have stupid long combos. Now, stupid long, I imply as having combos that go for longer than, say, I don't know, 10 seconds, and take off more than half your health bar. I hate games that do that. Crosscast Veil Off, awesome. And that means I can do this. Yeah, I can just throw it out whenever I like. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, games with ridiculously long combos that take off a stupid amount of your health. I was enjoying Dragon Ball FighterZ until those started coming out. The general problem with fighting games, for me at the very least, is that these combos can go for so long and do so much damage that it really makes no difference whether or not you're holding the bloody button, which is actually kind of annoying as hell, because I find it to be surprisingly frustrating to deal with, just because of how I think fighting games should work, which is there should be a reasonable amount of time to react to whatever it is you're working with, right? There are a couple of things I haven't gone over yet, like that was the shield right there, which is actually a really useful block. It's more useful than typical blocking. But anyway. But yeah, as I was saying, with Dragon Ball FighterZ, when the really long attacks chains started coming out, they would do like 75% of one character's health, and at one point I literally just started pulling down the controller because there was no point waiting for the combos to end because they'd just pick it up again anyway. This game doesn't do that very much, at least with the higher difficulty AI as far as I can tell. There might actually be some stupid combos that people can get on, but at least with the AI, I put it up to the really hard difficulties, and I didn't notice too much of that. Like, one of the more notable times I found of this was at the end of the arcade mode, where I got into a combo which took off like 30% of my health, but I was allowed to immediately block it right after it was over. So, not the worst thing in the world. It can happen, but it doesn't seem to be too overly biased towards ridiculously long combos, mainly because you've got a fair amount of health in this one, in comparison to a lot of fighting games I've played with recently. Like, I played Street Fighter V and Tekken, and this game's got more health than any of them. So, yeah, battles last a fairly long time, and it definitely feels more fair than, say, a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ, where ridiculously long combos can come out like that. I'm never a fan of them. And I really do like the way the GRD system works, because it awards aggression. It means that keeping the fight going while still, you know, you do have to try and fight off these characters here. And as you can see, actually blocking attacks does give you aggression meter as well. So it's not like being absolutely defensive. Being defensive while you're being attacked, I should say, is a bad thing. So it makes it a lot more interesting, because it means that going on the attack will give you benefits in the long run, and I do like that, because it means that it keeps the matches interesting, because you always want to be on the move, because your opponent gets the GRD meter as well, and you can actually steal it by doing the holding the D button as well. Not to mention you can use the meter to pull off your own attacks and all that, which is great. You don't want them to get into Vorpal, because Vorpal does more damage, and they can do things like get extra EXS meter. So yeah, I find the mechanics are actually really well balanced as well, because with all the characters being relatively easy to learn, I mean, sure, some of them have their shticks, which you'll need to go and check the command moves list for. Like, for example, Elvin here actually has a gun which she fires, but she has a limited amount of ammo, so you'll find that she needs to reload from time to time if you use her actual gunshots. I haven't actually used them that much, because I'm more used to a whip, but there are a few characters with a few other unique things as well. Like the guy I just fought there, Merkava, was that his name? He can actually fly and turn that into a few combo opportunities. And there's a few other things like that as well. And it just works really well, because since all the characters have relatively similar inputs, it all comes down to how good you are with your tech, which is great, because I hate games that require you to remember bloody 15 input chains to actually be good at them. You can do that with this game, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, you stand a chance. You've got a simple combo that works entirely on the square button, and it's actually not that hard to remember the general purpose of swapping between buttons A, B, and C for your combos, so you don't need to worry too much about knowing ridiculously long things. And combine that with being able to do an input cancel to make your combos longer with the GRD Vorpal, or GPD, GRD, whatever it is. Considering that you can do that, it makes it a really easy fighting game to learn. But obviously it's going to take some time to actually get used to the entire thing. I find EX attacks in this game to be a little bit weird, actually, mainly because they're only doable on the C button, except if you use the mashing the A button attack, which is the circle button, the square button, respectively, which is a little odd, but whatever, I'll make do with it. You get every move on every button, so, you know, the stronger moves come out on the circle button and the triangle button, but square button is faster. So, you know, pretty basic fighting game stuff. But yeah, what I'm trying to say is more or less the actual fighting is really good. I'm enjoying it. It moves really quick, has some great depth to it, and has some good ideas like the GRD Vorpal meter down there, making it so that you want to be aggressive, and also giving you some options when you're in the advantage state. But there are a couple of things that can go wrong as well. Like if you put up a shield and you get hit, you'll lose the ability to go Vorpal, which is actually pretty bad. I'm going to... I'll actually go back to the main menu now so that you don't have to watch me play the same character the entire time. Might actually go play Score Attack. That's actually an idea. I should do that. I'll go play Score Attack so you can see some different... So you can go see some different characters. Turn to the main menu, please. Game's 1900 IP. See, I didn't even have to finish it, and I got plenty of customization. Alright, so let's go play Score Attack. It lets you pick the first opponent, but then it does the other 9 at random, and there's no story or anything like that in this mode. You do also have online leaderboards for all of these for every character. So if you go through the game, like I went through with Nana Say, and there's my best score. One of the trophies actually requires you to get like 10 billion points or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous. Who am I gonna play? It's actually a good question. Gordo? No, I don't think I'll play Gordo. He's too similar to who I was just playing. We'll play Merkava. Why not? He's an interesting character. And we will fight Chaos. Why not? He probably won't even be that hard. Because first match, always never the hardest. I'll play Merkava just to show you what it looks like when he flies. Because I actually like that bit of his character. See, there he is. And he can come down from the sky and immediately attack. He's also got ridiculous range. But to make up for that, he's actually quite slow and doesn't have much in the way of combo potential. But that's not the worst thing in the world for him, really. Watch this. Watch this, I said. You know, I input cancel and go straight back into another combo. That didn't actually go as well as I'd hoped, but oh well. So the combos are bright and flashy, but they don't do ridiculous amounts of damage, and that's what I like in my fighting games. Let's talk about the art, shall we? So this is actually a really weird situation where I don't think I've actually seen this on the Vita before. I mean, no, I haven't actually. So the backgrounds are 3D, but the sprites are 2D, which is really strange because by the looks of it, they've made it so that yeah, they've made it so that the internal resolution's actually a bit scaled down from what you might expect. And the sprites will actually suffer for this as well. Now, they're good sprites, the animation is fantastic, and it all looks really nice. But you can tell by looking at the screen that it's not running at the native resolution of the Vita. It's running at something lower, and that's really kind of disappointing, only because the game just looks really good, and seeing it at a lower resolution than what it was intended for is kind of disappointing. Jiggly jigglies. And it's just slightly disappointing because the art is so good that seeing it as pixelated as it is, it looks a lot worse on the video than it will when you're actually playing it on the Vita. I'm currently playing it on a brand new slim Vita, and it looks good. It absolutely looks good, and I imagine it will look absolutely flippin' fantastic when you play it on the OLED Vita, which is something I can't really do. The only reason I have a new Vita out is because I could get a European copy of this before I could get an American, so I decided to do that, despite the fact that I'm gonna have to basically rebuy the game to get it to where I keep all my Vita games normally, but frankly, that's not a bad thing, because I'm actually really enjoying this. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a shame to see the art be so pixelated because of that, right? It's not the worst thing in the world, and the game does look fine. I just think that's worth pointing out. It's nowhere near as bad as like Mortal Kombat and its kind of, and how it had problems with that. But yeah, I just do want to point that out. Wow, read like a book. As you can see, I'm not actually very good at this game, but I'm doing okay. I actually got a perfect on that one. Yeah, the AI is kind of brain dead in the first few stages, which is a little unfortunate, but... oh well? Ooh, Waldstein. He's the grappler of this game. He's the Zangief. But yeah, just as I was saying before, like, I know it's a bit weird to just pause it right there, but yeah, look at that. There's all your commands. Like, the majority of them are quarter circle forward, quarter circle back. And you can scroll down and see all their unique moves and stuff, but yeah. As I was saying, really easy to learn, but it's got a lot of depth, and the aggression mechanic is something that I really like. I think that's a really clever idea, and it encourages people not to camp. So, I can see why this game is a competitive game. I can see why this constantly shows up at places like EVO. I believe latest was in EVO 2017. The character roster is pretty good. Some of them are a little bit similar to each other. There are a couple of ones that have their own weird little mechanics, like Hilda is entirely based on ranged attacks. Hyde, no, not Hyde. The other guy that looks like Hyde, but isn't Hyde, has a couple of other things going for him as well, and it's... wow, did I just do a bloody chain cancel through his attack? That was amazing. But yeah, there's a couple of weird characters like, yeah, Hill is entirely ranged. There's this one weird character who reminds me, Hyde basically reminds me of Ragnar the Blood Edge from BlazBlue. There's his, the guy who he's hunting down, whose entire shtick is this weird thing about dropping fireballs behind people, which are activated on a time limit. So you just end up doing something along the lines of, which are activated on a time limit, so you end up putting them behind people, hoping that they run into them. And just, you know, using that to your advantage. It's all very odd. I'm not entirely sure what the deal is, but it's got enough unique characters in it. 20 might be pushing the limits with systems like this. It might be pushing the limit of what's acceptable, but there's still a fair amount to play around with here, and you'll probably find your favorites relatively quickly. I mean, at least it's not Dragon Ball FighterZ, which has like 22 characters, and you have to bring out 3 of them at a time. But I'm still enjoying this game thoroughly. It is a high speed, high action, really enjoyable fighting game. I'm enjoying myself quite immensely with it. It is a really good time. Easy to learn, hard to master, good mechanics, interesting character roster, looks great outside of the weird resolution issue. Probably should have added to my FLS meter there, which is the same as EXS. I don't know why they call it FLS. I don't know why it's different. It's probably something story related. You see, even dashing forward got me a bunch of GRD meter there. So yeah, Eltham got punished for running away from me by me getting a bunch of meter. And now that I'm in Vorpal mode, I can veil off and do this. Admittedly, that was kind of ridiculous, but, well, it's an AI, and I imagine that most humans wouldn't react that way if they were actually playing, but yeah, she just got absolutely destroyed. So yeah, that was a look at score attack mode. Let's go and play another mode, just so I can swap to another character.
方には犠牲になってもらいます。
I guess the question is, who do I play next? I could play Nana Sei. She's a pretty decent character, but I need to pick someone who's a little bit more unique than that. Maybe I should play Hilda. Seth was the guy I was talking about that threw out the weird projectiles that were on a timer and everything. I haven't actually played as Micah. You know what? Let's play as a character I haven't actually tried yet, just to see how fast I can get used to him. Alright, we'll just skip this. Yakio versus Seth, okay. Oh, is this the, fuck, what's his name? Carl Clover? Of this game? Where it's like he... Oh no, I guess not. Alright, he's going to Vorpal. I should not let him get much further with that. So what's this guy's move list? Right, so he's got a few combos coming off that. Become part of me. He's got an influence with EXS. And his only unique attacks are down C and aerial C. That's interesting. Not my favorite character, I'll admit, but I'll make it work. We're almost done here. We're about to hit 50 minutes, and I think that's good enough. So, yeah, if you've been watching this video for the past 50 minutes, you've already heard about everything that I like about this game, which is pretty much everything. I find it really hard to pick out massive issues. I mean, you could complain about the 2D graphics being not as high resolution as they could be, and you could complain about the Chronicles mode not having any actual fights, and all the other things, like just all the other really minor things that are just nitpicks more than anything else. I really don't care too much about that though, mainly because the game itself is still a really good time. It's a great fighting game. Well balanced, plays really well, input's fine, great performance. The characters are interesting, the actual fighting with the whole GRD meter thing going on is really a great idea, and it works as well in practice as it does on paper. And yeah, I'm enjoying the hell out of it. This is probably honestly going to replace BlazBlue on my Vita, mainly because it's smaller. I think this is only like 2.2 gig, but considering that our version of BlazBlue isn't actually the latest one anymore, so if I end up playing bloody Continuum Shift Extend while people are off playing Central Fiction or whatever the bloody hell the newest one is. Rail off. Oh, right. Never mind, I'll just go up and slap her in the face. That works. But yeah, I'm enjoying Under Night in Birth a lot. It's got a lot of good things going for it, and I can understand why it's a competitive fighting game. But at the same time, it's also easy enough for me to pick up without feeling like I know fucking nothing, which is a lot of problems games like Guilty Gear have. So I will I will take a good session of this any day of the week. It's a very good fighting game. I'll just skip this one as well. This will be our last fight. You can put the AI difficulty up by 2 more levels. So I'm hoping that once you get to 5, you have to you'll be fine. Notably, in order to get the Platinum Trophy this game, you need to beat the arcade mode on difficulty 5 with 2 rounds, best of 3, I think it is, and you have to not continue. So, yeah, have fun with that. But yeah, I fully recommend Under Night in Birth. If you are, even if you're not a fan of fighting games, just because it's really easy to pick up. As I said, with all the moves being the same on every character, and there being a really long and interesting tutorial, not to mention the bloody combos that you can get taught. I'm getting my shit kicked in right now. Let me focus for a bit. Damn it. Walked right into it. Oh yeah, but considering that the game's got plenty of tutorials and the fact that all the characters basically work the same with their movesets and all that means that it's actually pretty easy to pick up and play. And I'm enjoying it immensely. Yeah, this is Hyde. It really does remind me of Ragnar the Blood Edge. There's a good use of the input cancelling for you with the GPD Vorpal transferring your energy to your EXS bar. But yeah, I really like it. I definitely think it is worth your time. It is a very good fighting game, and I am enjoying it quite a lot. I hope that I have the opportunity to play this online, but with that said, the overall the overall likeliness of there being an Australian community for this game is basically nothing. I don't know if this game's actually got cross-platform play. I hope it does. It doesn't say that it doesn't, but it probably doesn't. Alright, that's pretty much it. 52 minutes, that'll do. That's a pretty good demonstration of the game, actually. So, this has been Blue Maxima, and I will see you all next time.